Hello and welcome to the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. It is the Manufacturer Series and the top 16 superstars for the Central and South America's region coming up for you. My name is Tom Brooks, alongside me, Chaz Draycott, here to guide you through the action today. And Chaz, I think this is going to be one of the most exciting races we've seen in the Manufacturer Series history. I don't know why, I've just got a feeling.
Yeah, well, I mean, these guys in the Central and South America's region, they've been really flamboyant in their racing approach in a lot of other series we've seen in the GR Super GT Cup as well, and they always bring exciting racing. And of course, because we've got such a big variation of cars, so many people have been doing different strategies, it's going to be amazing to watch. So I'm with you on that. I reckon this is going to be a corker.
Well, let's have a look, shall we, at the regional standings for Central and South America as they sit after 19 rounds. You can see UDI Didico there for Lexus at the top of the pile. Then it's Aston Martin with Karma Queen in second. IOF Racing, Igor Fraga, of course, competing for Toyota, now in third position. Turismo Jara in fourth place for Alfa Romeo. FT Nico R for BMW in fifth. Then Lexus again with top six position there for UDI Benelli. Carhaus Fire, FT Benal in eighth position. Loyrot and Apollo there in ninth and 10th for Porsche respectively as well, and you can see the other drivers further down the order. Now, unlike in the Nations Cup, where you finish in terms of the point standings isn't necessarily that important. It's where you finish for your manufacturer in the point standings. So for example, if you're UDI Didico, you're smiling from ear to ear at the moment because you're ahead of the next Lexus driver of UDI Benelli. Now, if Lexus of course qualify for the next Manufacturer Series event at the World Tour, and of course we've got 5 regions, out of those 3 regions, if Central and South America are at the top points or within the top 3 of those 5 regions, then of course it would be UDI Didico who makes his way through into that event, so he would then represent Lexus as it goes. So it's going to be interesting to see how things will stand. Let's take a look and see whether Central and South America is doing well for Lexus in the global point standings, shall we? After this 19 rounds that we've had so far, you can see Lexus there at the top of the pile, perfect, and Central and South America also at the top of the pile as well. So at the moment it would be UDI Didico who represents that manufacturer for the Central and South America region at the next World Tour event. Then Mercedes-Benz are in second position, 898 points, very close behind though Toyota and BMW in third and fourth place respectively. Then you've got Porsche, Jaguar, Aston Martin, Ford, Alfa, Hyundai, Audi and Chevrolet there just on the fringes of the top 12.
Yeah, and it's very, very close because, I mean, if you look at how the points are standing at the moment all the way up and down, it's very, very close between every single manufacturer. In terms of what this could do in this race, obviously there's the 5 regions doing this. Every driver could have a good race or a bad race. There's so many variables, and we could see some switching of positions here, and I reckon that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, as you say there, Chaz. So let's take a closer look at the circuit we're going to be competing on then, shall we, ahead of this event. Well, it is the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, introduced in Gran Turismo Sport earlier in 2019. A real-life track, of course, based about an hour outside of Barcelona in the town of Montmeló. 4.6 kilometres it is, built back in 1991, comprised of 3 different sectors. The track, of course, was modified in 2007 to include that chicane of turns 14 and 15. Prime overtaking opportunities down the start, finish straight into turn 1 and out of turn 9, down into turn 10.
Yeah, there's a lot of slipstreaming opportunities here. 29.6 metres elevation change. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're going down towards turn 1 and you're already doing about 130 mile an hour, the car very quickly gets to about 160. Then you've got to really think about it when you get into the braking zones. We're going to see people going late on the brakes into there and into turn 10 as well. Of course, with that straight coming before it, it's very, very, very hard on the brakes to stop there, and we do see some people going straight on.
Yeah, certainly do. Out of turn 9 into turn 10, that's where the penalties line is in this race as well. So if anybody exceeds track limits or has some unsportsmanlike conduct out on track, and we all know how important sportsmanship is, don't we?
Yes, of course we do.
Of course. And yes, well, that is where they will receive that penalty then. So they'll be slowed down for an indeterminate number of seconds, which we'll see on screen at that particular time, and then they will come back into the race thereafter. Anyway, let's have a look, shall we, at the race details and piece together exactly what we're dealing with here. So Group 3 cars, racing hard and medium tyres available for these drivers. They've already had a 10-minute qualifying session to determine the grid, but they've got a 9-lap race coming up with 5 times fuel consumption, 11 times tyre wear, 2 different tyre compounds. How on earth do you read this race?
I don't think people are going to be using the hard tyres, in all honesty. I think with them being racing drivers, they want to be using mediums, so they've got as much pace as they can get. It's just down to them then to manage the tyres and manage the situation. We've seen some guys in other regions coming in quite early as lap 3 just to get in some clear air, get out of some battles. But then on the other side of things, we've seen guys stretching it out to lap 7 just so they've got a bit of fresh rubber at the end, and they get that track position before they have it. So it's going to be interesting to see. Racing hards, as you can see there, they can go all the way through to the end of the race, but at 1.2 seconds a lap, I don't think any of these lot are going to risk it.
I think you're very, very right there. Medium tyres seem to be the order of the day, and it's just a case of if they pit, and if they do pit, when they pit. It's about 10 or 11 seconds that you'll lose in terms of the overall pit stop time. So with that said then, let's head over to start the race for the Central and South America region. Onto the grid, FT Nico R starts from pole position. Here's UDI Solid in the Mazda, the Brazilian driver. He starts from P6. There's FT Nico. There is UD Benelli, of course, who's doing for everyone in the standings so far for Lexus, but not the lead driver. It's UDI Didico, the driver who is directly behind him here on the grid. So probably a bit of warfare going on between those two in this race.
Yeah, the same livery on the same car as well. So it's almost as if it's going to be like a teammate rivalry. Of course, with the usernames, I assume they are anyway. They've got Car McQueen behind them, and then FT Bernal in the Mercedes in 5th. So really, really good range of cars through this field. As you can see, we've got Lamborghini in 16th place as well, Alex and Andros. And here we go then to the start of the race.
Yeah, through the final corner over the timing line, FTR Nico leads the field over the timing line then to get this one underway. The Manufacturer Series race for the Central and South America region is underway. Good start there, of course, from Nico, but everybody else darting into the slipstream behind as they try and get the drag down towards the first corner. Nico's on the defensive. The straight line speed of that BMW is not quite so brilliant. Is anybody going to think about a lunge down towards turn 1 as they go? Look at the Aston Martin of Car McQueen. He's trying to go around the outside of them all through turn 1. He tries to pick off more than he can chew, but he gets up into 3rd place at the expense of UDI Didico there. So an absolutely inspired start from Car McQueen, the Chilean driver, into P3 at the end of the second corner.
Yeah, he really went for it, really late on the brakes, put it around the outside, was going to get both of the Lexuses, but I think UDI Benelli just defended it very, very well, ran out a little bit wide, maybe a bit of door banging, a little bit of contact with FT Nico there. He's a bit out of shape around turn 4 as well. Not quite what he wanted, so it's going to give FT Nico a chance to run away. Look at this battling behind them here. FT Bernal in there as well with UDI Solid.
Yeah, absolutely. UDI Bernal there. FT Bernal, sorry, the UDI Solid close behind, as you say. Turismo Jara also exchanging positions with Turismo Rodrigo for 8th and 9th position as we come through up turn 7, then turn 8, in towards turn number 9. The fast flicking right-hander as they come on towards this back straight again. Another overtaking opportunity presenting itself as they come into the heavy braking zone of turn number 10. Somehow Nico has managed to hold on with the lack of straight line speed from its BMW, and keep an eye out for that BMW. We know it's not particularly been very kind on its tyres so far this season as well, and that could be a bit of a hindrance here for Nico, because he might well have the pace in the early stages of this one, but he might not have the consistency and the tyre life to keep it on the straight and narrow until the end of this race. Yeah,
he's got to really, really be careful about it if what we've heard is very true. So, with UDI Benelli behind him in that Lexus looking very menacing already at the end of the first lap, it might be a case of just when, not if, he gets the move done. We'll have to see. I think one of the cars as well at the back got a penalty for contact. I saw it flash up on the screen that they had a penalty going around turn 9. I think it was TCG Nikos or GTMX Kaiser in the Chevrolet. So it's a real shame for those guys.
Look at the lead, look at the lead, look at the lead. It's going to be changing positions there side by side with UDI Benelli trying to go around the outside at turn 1. FT Nico shuffles him to the outside and says, no son, you're not going to go through there, and has to force him to back out of that move and fight again another day. And what's that doing is it's backing them into this man here is Car McQueen, because the Aston Martin driver has been on top form in the opening stages of this race, and now he is really closing up on these top two battling, and there's a little bit of a gap being pronounced there to 4th place, because you can see the man who's in 4th place, UDI Didico, of course, the lead Lexus driver in the standings, is now coming under all sorts of pressure from his fellow UDI teammate of Solid, and Bernal is not too far away either.
Yeah, it's a really, really intense one, this, based on who's going to be representing them, and obviously in the standings these drivers really just want to make sure that they've got every advantage they can get. It's getting closer and closer as we see UDI Solid right behind him in the big Mazda, and Benelli, there he is in 2nd place. The size of the wing on that Aston Martin, it's so tall as well, not to mention the fact the wing itself is actually massive. It's the entire width of the car. Brilliant that it's in complete neon day glow yellow. A bit of a contact moment there with UDI Benelli bit of a push around the very slow turn 10, but if anything, that's just going to help him go a bit quicker up the hill, isn't it, Tom?
Well, Karma Queen here as well. This is the thing, he's pushing very hard in these early stages. What is that going to mean for his tyre life and indeed fuel consumption throughout the course of this race? Will he be one of the drivers to pick given the pace that he has got behind him, or will he try and go to the end of this race? What will we see from the top drivers in this one? Because it could come all down to strategy, because if you do pit, it's about 10 or 11 seconds you're going to be losing. There's UDI Solid. He's been given a penalty for exceeding track limits there as well, so that is not what he would have wanted, and he'll be serving that penalty on this lap going through turn 9 and up in towards turn 10. Not where he will have wanted it to. Here you can see the Aston Martin there. The V12 engine is very powerful indeed, but the Lexus has got good legs on that straight as well, of course benefited by the slipstream from Nico in front.
Yeah, it's really, really good in a straight line, isn't it, that Aston Martin, considering the big wing as well. You'd have thought that was a massive drag aspect to the car, but the Lexuses, though, they're looking quite smooth on track at the moment, to be honest with you. They don't look like they're really overly flamboyant or having any issues. They're just there or thereabouts on the pace. They're doing everything they need to do, although I say that, and Benelli's gone a bit wide, and down the inside goes Karma Queen, so commentators could sort of even preceding me at that point. There's FT Bernal in 6th place in the Mercedes. He's just staying in touch with this group and just trying to identify his opportunities, I think, just to try and see what happens ahead of him.
On board here with Bernie then, Bernie Valverde as he's known. Here is the penalty about to come up then for UDI Solid. He's going to drop back behind Bernie and also potentially be in the clutches of Car Hellfire after this one as well. Through the right-hander we go of turn 9. There is Bernie ready to take profit of that penalty that UDI Solid is about to serve here now. Through the penalty zone we go. The car will ghost. He moves off sensibly to one side and he will come back onto the track, but he's also, as we said, going to be passed by Car Hellfire down in towards turn number 10, so 2 positions lost as a result of that 1 second penalty. And look at these 3 drivers now almost running nose to tail: Benelli, Karma Queen and UDI Didico. Well, as Alan Partridge quips, the Lexus is being the Japanese Mercedes, and they're doing a good job in terms of the Mercedes performance, because the nearest Mercedes is Bernie Valverde there in 5th position there so far. He's at the background of this one, ready to take profit if any of these drivers falter. But this is a very interesting scrap, and all the while they're duelling with one another, it is allowing FT Nico Rubelar to just create a comfortable advantage. 1.7 seconds the Chilean driver now has.
Yeah, he's running away with it at the moment, side by side down the straight though. Karma Queen and Benelli. Karma Queen on the outside, he's been late on the brakes, he gets it done as well, so very well done by the Aston Martin driver. He's ahead of the 2 Lexus now, and of course it's going to be the battle of the UDIs from Benelli and Didico. These guys are going to want to fight each other to the death, but at the end of the day though, they want to make sure Karma Queen doesn't get any further away.
The thing is, they're squabbling not only for position on track but also position in terms of where they finish in the manufacturer series standings. It was of course Didico who was at the top of the standings for Lexus going into this round. Round 20, of course, the final round in the manufacturer series standings. So, all to play for them. And let's see whether anything is going to change as well. Out of turn 5 we go, up the hill, through the left kink of turn 6, then into turn 7 and turn 8 we begin the climb as we head in towards that fast right-hander of Kamsa into turn 9.
Look at them just going up the hill there, on board here with FT Bernal, looking back at Car Hellfire and the Jag. The very little Jaguar with that very, very big Mazda behind him of UDI Solid. After that penalty, he's going to want to make that ground back up as quickly as possible. And it really does stand out in this field, does that Mazda. And we're getting into the pit window now, so maybe we're going to see a couple of guys pit this lap, Tom. We've seen a lot of differing strategies though, so it's going to be interesting to see whether anyone does it this time round quite early on, or whether they stretch it to the end. Do you reckon we're going to see many this time round?
I think it's very, very possible, but I'm not 100% sure if we will. Let's keep an eye out.
To the last chicane comes Karma Queen then. Quick change of direction for the Aston, and it looks like it's Benelli that's going into the pits.
And
the race
Rubelar, Nicolo Rubelar goes into the pit lane as well. Benelli follows suit. Didico and Karma Queen carrying on here. So are they going to try and get the overcut? Bit of clear air for these drivers now, which is beneficial for them. If they can keep the pace, they can set some good lap times. Lots of drivers swarming into the pits there. You can see 7 out of the 15 drivers who are on the circuit at the moment, all coming into the pit box here early doors on the end of lap 4. Now onto the start of lap 5. It's going to be a case of Karma Queen and FT Didico, also Benal, Jara and Esposito there, who have not pitted. What are they going to be able to do? Will they opt to go to the end of the race, or will they come into the pit at the end of this lap? After that, I don't know whether it's going to be very beneficial for them to pit. Look at this, though, battle going on for 8th position. Running on board with Car Hellfire. He's got a penalty, but UDI Solid doesn't want to give him the opportunity to get past on the penalty. He wants to find his way through very quickly indeed. Car Hellfire has made a pit stop. UDI Solid has also made a pit stop. So Jaguar versus Mazda down in towards turn number 5 we go. Defensive line there from Car Hellfire. He's trying to halt off the charge of this Mazda, it's all in vain really, because of course if he's able to keep within half a second into that penalty zone, then surely UDI Solid is going to be fighting his way through. Up the hill, through turn 7, through turn 8, then they're going to flick it right for Kamsa of turn number 9 and head down in towards Lakaisha, the hairpin of turn 10, and look at how close that Mazda is. Through the penalty zone we go, the car is going to ghost there for Carhel's fire, and UDI Solid says thank you very much, slides his way on through. And he only loses one position there, Carhel's fire as well. Turismo Rodrigo in the second Mercedes in this race, not able to find his way back past.
No, it's good that he's only lost the one place from it. You know, you can come back from that very easily. It doesn't really get into your head losing just one position, and it's not really something that he's going to have to find some sort of mental strength to come back from. He's just going to keep his head in the game, get on with it now. Wonderful livery on that Jaguar, by the way. It looks absolutely fantastic in that scheme.
Karma Queen, UDI Didico have not pitted. Turismo Jara does decide to pit then at the end of lap 5. Here comes Nico Rubilar then, side by side with FT Esposito. Esposito hasn't pitted, so the tyres are going to be very second hand behind the wheel of his Hyundai. They're going side by side down the start-finish straight. Lots of action taking place in the background, but here comes Rubilar down the inside of the Hyundai and the BMW. He goes and he's through into the race lead.
Yep, does a fine job there, and it's a good thing that Esposito wasn't too late on the brakes and making any desperate moves. I suppose you call that Despacito. Nico goes past him then, and around turn 3 he goes. You can see the fresh rubber making the difference there around the right-hander. I'm going to get fired for that, I'm really sorry. UDI Benelli then, 6th place overall. He is the next driver that's going to come across Esposito and just make a move. UDI Solid in there as well in the Mazda, but interesting to watch Karma Queen, Didico and Bernal, who have not pitted yet.
Yeah, absolutely right then. So 11 times tyre wear, just to remind you here, 5 times fuel consumption. So not only will they have to manage the tyres, they will also have to manage the fuel wear rate as well. And you'll imagine they'll be lifting and coasting and changing the engine settings to run from full power into lean mode to try and just save a bit of fuel where it's not so important. For example, in the early stages of that lap, turns 4 and turns 5, you can afford to just let off the fuel a little bit there. But on these straights, you want as much power as you possibly can. So they'll be wiggling the knobs on their steering wheel left, right and centre to try and make sure that they have got as much fuel as possible to try and attack and keep that gap at a constant at the front of this race, because I think it's probably too late now for it to be effective for McQueen, Didico and Bernal to go into the pit lane. Sure, they'll have fresher tyres at the end of the race, but given how close all of the field is relatively so to one another, I think it might just be a day late and a dollar short if they come into the pits at this point. Here's Benelli on the back of Esposito into the chicane. Through into the left, then the right, and Esposito now really struggling with this tyre wear. Does he opt to go into the pits? No, he doesn't. He's going to stick it out for the long run then by the looks of things, but look at the run that Benelli has got out of that final corner in the slipstream there, and surely he's going to think about a move down in towards turn 1, and Esposito knows he's there. He doesn't opt to try and squeeze him over towards the pit wall, doesn't try and defend his line there too much. There's not really much point, because you know that that Lexus is going to be able to brake significantly later as they draw alongside with one another, and indeed Benelli gets the position into 5th at the first turn.
Yeah, and he's going to want to chase after Nico R now, but there is the
penalties.
difference. Oh, yes. Penalty of half a second for Nico R and then 1 second for Bernal as well. So that might have been into turn 1 potentially, or out of the final corner, for example. If they were just trying to make a move, if they were side by side, they could have both gone off the circuit. But Nico really needs to get his foot down, make sure that doesn't affect him that much. Only half a second though. You don't really think that would be too much of an issue. Onto the back of Didico now. He's a bit wide on that apex, but like I say, little mistakes at this point don't really matter for Nico. He just needs to make sure that he digs into Karma Queen's lead and makes it a very quick move on Didico, if and when that comes.
Well, half a second doesn't sound like a lot, but it really can put pace to your race. Let's see what happened here. Now, they're down towards the first corner. They've already been given the penalties here. I wondered if we were going to see a replay of exactly what happened, whether they had exceeded track limits, but we do not. Here is Rubilar then about to serve his penalty. Bernal also with that 1 second penalty, so that's going to hamper their progress here. They're going to come over this line, the car is going to ghost, and they will be slowed down for half a second. 1 second there for Bernal as well. It's just going to allow Benelli to close up a little bit there in the background. Is Benelli going to think about a move down into Lakaisha? No, he's not quite close enough through there, and of course Bernie defending that line. Very nice, a bit of a wiggle there from Didico. He's really struggling with the tyres on this car now.
Yeah, it really is, and it's becoming very apparent.
Bernal's been overtaken by Benelli there. Sorry to get in front of you, Jazz. So Benelli did manage to get ahead through Lakaisha, and he is now up into 4th place, and of course newer tyres that Benelli has got, so you would imagine that he is going to clear off into the distance ahead of Bernie now, and he's going to be trying to close up that deficit to Nico, but he's 2.2 seconds back, and here comes Nico then. Side by side they run down the start-finish straight, 4th second position onto the penultimate lap. We are here at the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya, and Nicolo Rubilar with fresher tyres on his car is dueling for 2nd place. Down in towards turn 1 we go. Late on the brakes he is, up the inside, but he's a little bit deep into there, but he just manages to gather it up for the 2nd phase of that apex and doesn't lose too much time, and now his next target is very much in sight. Karma Queen, the race leader, is 1.6 seconds down the road.
Do you reckon he can do it?
I think he can. I think he's got the pace. Yeah, but let's have a look at the lap times last time around. Yeah, he was a second quicker than Carl McQueen last time. I know there's only a lap left, but given the rate of knots he's pulling him in, look, 3 corners in, he's already gained 3 or 4 tenths of a second on Carl McQueen's Aston Martin here.
Yeah, certainly, and he's got a massive big Dayglow yellow wing to aim for as well. Oh, a bit of a wobble there. That's not going to hurt him too much. He's still 1.1 seconds back. He's going to have the traction at the corners as well, don't forget. It's not all about handling when it comes to tyres. If you've got the tyres underneath you, you can put your foot down a bit more aggressively. Don't spin them up too much because they're not overheated, they're not ruined on the rears. So, you know, you can get that punch out of the corner that your rivals might not. He's under a second behind now. Even down the straight, you know, I reckon that he's going to get some slipstream as they cross the line onto the final lap. He could definitely get this done now.
Down in towards Lakaisha we go then for the penultimate time. You can sense it's going to happen. Look at that gap. You can visibly see it is a lot closer than it ever has been, down to 7/10 of a second. If he can get a good run through this final sector, Nicolo Rubelar here, he could be on for a nice slingshot out of the final turn of turn 16 and launching a move through that final corner. And look at this, especially in these slower sections where you need more traction, you need more rubber underneath you. That is where Carl McQueen is really beginning to struggle. Through the final corner we go. Now, what is Nicolo Rubelar's slingshot going to be like? What is his speed going to be? What's his exit going to be like? He's got a great run, he really is. Carl McQueen goes defensive. Nicolo Rubelar is going to go towards the outside here. Will the straight line speed be very beneficial for him? It certainly will. He pulls into the slipstream, he pulls alongside him nearly into the braking zone. He dives down the inside at turn 1. Can he make the move stick? They're running side by side. Carl McQueen shuffles Nico to the outside line for turn 2, and Rubelar's going to have the inside line for turn 3. He's on the inside, he's battling for the race lead. They still run side by side, and Rubelar is through into the race lead on the final lap ahead of Carl McQueen.
Yeah, he's done it. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Little bit of argy-bargy between the two of them. You can see Carl McQueen did not want to relinquish that position at all as Benelli and Didico. Look at that for a cutback. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the two of them. That was pretty controversial. He got a real wobbler. Wow, he blocks him off aggressively. That's really tough stuff there. Didico went into the back of him, surely barging each other off the track as well. Wow, elbows out stuff. Never mind elbows out. That was a headbutt.
No love lost between the two UDI teammates then through the left-hander, and this is crucial, as we said, to where they're going to finish in the point standings. They might not be battling for the race victory, but every single point they're going to get here in this race is going to count and make a difference to where they will finish at the end of these standings here. UDI Benelli now on the back foot as we come down into Lakaisha for the final time.
Whoa.
He was thinking about a late lunge there, but that was always never going to work. UDI Didico defends the line, but he's all over the back of him now is Benelli. Through the left, then the right-hander. New tyres on Benelli's car, old tyres on Didico's car, so he's at a big disadvantage. Is it going to come down to the final sector? They're going to run side by side on the outside there for Didico. Here is Carl McQueen. Here they go side by side. They run each other off the road. Benelli's on the inside, Didico on the outside into the chicane and sideways and over the curb. And UDI Solid comes through. He's up the inside. He's into third place in the final corner. UDI Solid gets third at the very last seconds of those race. Over the line we go. FT Nico takes the win. Second place to Carl McQueen. Third for Carl, UDI Solid. Turismo Jara in 4th, Rodrigo in 5th, UDI Benelli and Didico take penalties following that contact in the final sector of that race, and as a result of their drama, they finish down in 6th and 7th position after that one. My goodness, what an absolutely enthralling end to the race.
That was unbelievable stuff. Well, the contact early on in the lap really set that up to be a fight. I just had my head in my hands as they came into the last few corners. They didn't even make it that far. The two of them went off, and it was amazing stuff by UDI Solid to run through as well.
What happened to Bernie?
Yeah,
he's down in 10th position.
Yeah, Bernal's gone right down the order there. Maybe he got a penalty a bit further down, further on in that last lap, but really not sure there. But UDI Solid just thought, oh, well, if you guys are going to scrap, I'm just going to run through the middle, and off he went. But wow, Turismo Jara and Turismo Rodrigo, they benefited from that as well. Benelli and Didico, they're going to have words with each other after that. That was unbelievable
that
stuff.
That was elbows out. That was a case of, no, I'm going to take that position. No, you're not, I am. And it was just... that was unbelievably aggressive from both drivers, and the thing is, they both cost each other the race. That's the sad thing. As a result of that contact and them running off the circuit, they both received penalties, and subsequently they now finish in 6th and 7th place respectively, rather, compared to finishing inside the top 5.
I know, and even they had 1 second penalty and a half-second penalty over the line. They were still blocking each other as they crossed the line, so they're both over the grass. It's just, that was unbelievably aggressive. So I tell you what, I'd love to be a fly on the wall if those two chatted to to each other anywhere after that.
Well, let's take a look and see what this means for the regional standings then, shall we? For the Central and South America region, after the 20th and final round of the Manufacturer Series Top 16 Superstars at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And there you go. That is the result of it. UDI Didico finishing outside of the top 5, goes from the top of the order down to 3rd position. Karma Queen finishes on top for Aston Martin. FT Nico with that inspired win, that overtake on the final lap in 2nd. Didico in 3rd. IOF Racing, of course, Igor Fraga wasn't competing in that one. He moves down into 4th place. Turismo Jara also moves down the order there. But, well, I mean, that is big drama there for both Lexus boys. UDI Benelli doesn't lose out as such, but he doesn't gain anything either. He had a real opportunity to try and gain something from this, and he didn't do that.
No, definitely not. And that just shows you just how much of, if you get a bit aggressive in one race, it can really affect you in the standings. UDI Didico will be kicking himself for that. Of course, he's still the highest placed Lexus driver. Benelli won't be too pleased with that, but well, that was a very frantic Enter race there, but you said it at the beginning, it was going to be a corker, and it really was. Well done to those two there. That was great entertainment.
Well, fantastic stuff. Let's take a look at what that means then for the global manufacturer ranking. Lexus are still on top then, and by the skin of their teeth, of course, still Lexus and Central and South America regions we just saw at the top of the pile, so that is promising there for them then. So UDI Didico does still manage to represent Lexus for the next World Tour event, and you can see Mercedes there in 2nd. BMW managing to leapfrog Toyota, thanks to that win, of course, from Nicolo Rubenart. That puts him up into a great position there, and he will, of course, represent that manufacturer as well in the next World Tour event. Toyota down into 4th place. Porsche ahead of Jaguar inside the top 5. Ford moved down the order. Hyundai also inheriting into 9th place there ahead of Alfa.
Yeah, big changes all the way up and down the order once again. And that's what we like to see, no matter how far it goes through the series, it's still very close, tiny little margins, and that just makes it all the more exciting. One position change in a race could change things completely for just the entire manufacturer, and that's why it's interesting to have so much riding on this for these guys.
Well, if you like that, then be sure to join us for the next World Tour event in the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. World Tour 4 takes place at the Red Bull Hangar 7 in Salzburg, Austria on Friday and Saturday, the 13th and 14th of September. We've got Manufacturer Series action on the Friday and Nations Cup action for you on the Saturday. From Chaz Draycott alongside me and from myself, Tom Brooks, thank you so much for joining us for this one. We will see you in Salzburg in Austria for World Tour 4 for the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships.